Hey, thanks for watching today. We're excited to present our tax lien auction calendar for 2025. This is a follow-up to the tax deed auction calendar video we released about a week ago. So if you want to see that one, you should check it out. But I want to take a second here and talk about tax liens. A lot of tax investors that I talk to, they are kind of missing the boat with tax lien. They tell me they want to see just tax deeds. And the typical reason is that they want to own property and not mess around with interest rates or liens. But what I'm quick to remind people of is that sometimes with a tax lien, you can actually foreclose on the property faster than you can with a redeemable deed, or sometimes pretty close to a non redeemable deed. So, tax liens should be taken seriously if you're trying to buy property because sometimes they're a faster path than even a tax deed. So, we're going to touch on that. As I go through these different markets, I will mention the redemption period where it makes sense, where it's going to be helpful here. And what we'll do is just kind of treat that as a reminder of like, hey, this is why you should pay attention to tax liens, not just tax deeds. So again, thanks for watching. I know there's like an Arctic blast on most of the continental U.S. right now, and it's freezing where we are, so it's probably cold where you are. Maybe you're just watching this indoors because you can't get out. But yeah, I appreciate your viewership here, and good on you for taking the time to learn about tax lien auctions for this year and get your year started off with something new. So this is the tax lien auction calendar, and this is Parcel Fair. Let me start off. I'll actually jump over to this is parcelfair.com, and basically this is the site you come to for property research on tax liens, tax deeds, foreclosures, land banks, auctions are over the calendar. And something else that we're doing this year in 2025 is we've created this new calendar that shows you the seasons for tax liens. And while we're at it, we'll show you liens and deeds together. We have the liens in green and we have the deeds in blue here. But let's go back to the tax lien auction calendar. Something we're excited about for 2025 is that we are tracking every state. We have put all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. into play this year. So some states we've tracked for 6, 7, 8 years, and we know them very well. And then the other ones we're new to. So I'll let you know as we go. If I get out over my skis a little bit here, I'll try to be upfront about it so you know which markets are new to us. But we will just take it from the top. And actually, let me show you the bottom before we do that. We put the four year-round tax lien markets that we know of at the bottom of this calendar, mainly just because they're not seasonal. And this is to illustrate the season. So hopefully that's not confusing. We do change this calendar very often. A lot of these features that you see today were added in the last month. And if you look at last year's video, the calendar looks entirely different. We're constantly trying to pack in features for you and ways to save you time. So let's take a look. And we'll start with Arizona because that's going to be a tax auction season coming up very soon. We have these little helper icons here to give you a little context, but let's click on Arizona. So as you can see, we have 10 of the auctions already have placeholders on the calendar, and there will be 5 more coming once we know more information. But basically, these tax lien auctions are happening in February. And you see some blue here. These are the tax deed auctions that kind of happen sporadically throughout the year. We're sort of projecting that there may be a few here and there. But let's focus on these February tax lien auctions. We have projected the dates based on either the county has published a date and not a list, or maybe they have a thing where they have their auction every second Tuesday in February every year. So that's how we pick these dates. It is very likely some of these will move, the ones that are not officially announced yet. This is another thing we're trying out this year is we're putting in some placeholders on the calendar in certain states to see. It's really to help you know that there's an auction coming. And if you see coming soon, it just means the list is not released yet. And you can still click on the auction and see where it is, what time it is based on previous years. You can see this is an online auction. So there's a lot of information about the auctions. Even if we don't have a list yet, you can tell. And of course, if you wanted to see just the online auctions, we have a filter for that. We have a filter for in-person only, any location, and then that'll basically take the auctions off the screen if they don't match your criteria there. So Arizona, it's a popular market, 3-year redemption, 16% interest, and a lot of people get started in Arizona. There's a huge volume of tax liens that come through every year. As a sidebar, there's actually a lot of over-the-counter ones on our website as well. We have a lot of videos on this website, on this YouTube channel about the website, that can show you how to buy over the counter. The spoiler here is that you would go to the map search or the list search and go look through the over the counters there. But that's not what this video is about. So let's go back and look at the all states option. And we're going to go to tax liens again because I forgot and close that. So Indiana is going to be the second season we talk about here. Indiana has this 3-month spring commissioner sales season. And don't get confused, Indiana has a fall season as well. It's a different line item on this calendar because it happens way down here. Let's see, the fall auctions are here. They're called treasurer sales. And so we'll get to those in a minute. Let's talk about the spring commissioner sales right now. We do have a little helper text here that shows us 120-day redemption. This is one of the markets I'm talking about where you can begin your foreclosure very early, much like a tax deed, because there's only 120 days. In Indiana, these commissioner sales in the spring, the reason you can do that so much quicker is because those spring commissioner sales are the leftover tax liens that were already offered the previous fall. So they're leftovers and they're a little more motivated to move these, and so they drop that redemption rate pretty heavily to 120 days. And we already have some of these auctions on the calendar. I'm on the Indiana auction calendar page now. You can see we track 4 types of auctions. The top one are commissioner sales that we're talking about now. And what I want to do is filter this calendar to tax auctions only. That's just going to get these foreclosure auctions out of our face for a minute. We still like foreclosure auctions, but we're not talking about those right now. So now that we've filtered to just the tax auctions, you can see we have a handful in February that have already been announced. Some are coming soon, but some of them have properties already in there, properties published like Fulton. So if we want to check out the properties in the Fulton auction, let's go map the parcels from this auction. And we're looking right here, just sort of right in the middle of nowhere, it looks like, because there's a lot of green there. But you can see a pocket of properties here. These look like vacant lots, all sort of in a row. And we're checking out a bunch of different vacant lots. And now what we'll do is we'll actually open one up and take a look at it. I don't have a street view on this because there's no road. But this is a good example of like a landlocked piece of land. And we have auction information here. If you wanted to go bid on this, I'm not going to go through the whole report in this video, but this purchase option is your friend. You want to click on upcoming auction right there. That gives you the date, the time, the location, and the taxes due, $25. This is a very low opening bid. We also have a link to register for the auction and a link to the list itself if you want to go check it out. So this is going to be consistent on every auction you look at on our site. We're going to take you to the registration and the list and all those different places that you need to know so that you can go bid on the property. We try not to put anything on the site that we can't tell you how to buy or at least register to bid for. So that's the Indiana commissioner sales. There will be more videos and discussion about that on this channel. It's a big season. Some big counties like Lake County will be included once they release, and we'll be quick to add those as soon as they're available. Louisiana is one of these states that has been kind of a rough start for us. It's a very confusing market with the properties in many locations. So when we're talking about Louisiana, let's open up the calendar. These adjudicated sales and sheriff sales that we have a lot more visibility on those. The tax lien auctions are a little more sporadic. I don't have any mapped out for 2025 yet. So let's go check out 2024 and see. We can check out a couple here. Let's check the last one. We had a tax lien sale in September right here, and we can actually go view the properties that were in the tax sale. They're all unavailable now because the sale has passed. But this is a little known feature of Parcel Fair is you can look at lists of properties after the auction. You go back and just see whatever went to auction, and you can even click on the property report here if you want to. That one didn't have much going on, but on counties where there's let's see, we have plenty here. Let's just do a different one. Yes, I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to get at here. You can look at these lists for previous auctions is the point. But when we're talking about 2025, I don't have anything yet for Louisiana. We're going to keep an eye out for those, and hopefully we'll have something coming up pretty soon. Moving on to Nebraska. This is the first year we've tracked Nebraska. I've got a little helper text here to help me out and help you out as well so you can do this yourself. But we can see that the liens have a max interest rate of 14% annually and a 3-year redemption rate. So the redemption period's not great at 3 years, but 14% is pretty nice. And for Nebraska, we do have Douglas 2025 coming up on March 3rd. That's the only calendar we have tracking right now. So Nebraska is going to be exciting for us. Again, our first year tracking it. New York is the next auction state here. We covered New York tax deed auctions, which there's many more of those. We covered that in the tax deed auction video. You're going to check that out. But here's a little note about tax lien auctions. Only a few counties in New York sell them. Right now, we only have one auction coming up. And I know I've read that New York City only sells them through private sales, which means you need to show up with a few $1,000,000 probably and buy a bundle of those liens. They don't really just sell them to most investors. But the tax liens for the county I'm going to talk about are sold at auction with a 20% max interest rate and a 2-year redemption period. So the redemption's not great, but the interest rate is pretty good. And this auction coming up will be in Nassau County. There is no list yet, but we do have a February 18th date has been published. So keep an eye out for that coming up if you want to buy from one of the few counties in New York that sells tax liens. Alabama, I could probably talk for hours about Alabama. This is where we started. We've been tracking it for 7, 8 years. I don't even know, 8 years now. This is where we got started in investing, and it's changed a lot over the years. And I'll be honest, it's a pretty complicated market. I have a video to help you out. If you look at the 2024 Alabama auction preview video, we go through an explanation and deep dive of the multiple systems that are in play in Alabama. So we're not going to cover that in this video. Suffice it to say, they have tax lien auctions in the spring, a huge OTC backlog, just as a side note, and we already have 26 of these auctions mapped out on the calendar where we've either predicted the date or the county has told us the date. And what I mean by predicted is if Colbert County, for example, told us that they hold their auction on the third Monday in April every year, then we pick the third Monday in April. So again, there is wiggle room here. These dates do move. Just because they typically do that date doesn't mean they always will. And as a little extra bonus for you, we do have some preliminary lists from just a handful of counties. These are not going to be the exact lists that go to auction, but these are a good idea of what are delinquent and probably go to auction. So you see Calhoun County, 9,733 parcels, Walker, 7,161, St. Clair, 5,000. I think there's Lee has 5,000. So a lot of parcels you go and look at. Let's just take the biggest one here. Let's throw Calhoun on the map. Calhoun does have a lot of over-the-counters as well, so I'll show you how to filter that. Right now we're looking at just what's in this upcoming auction. I'm going to go ahead and throw my county borders on the screen and put a little contrast on the map. So you can see the county outline. You can see we have this Interstate 20 runs right through town here. It's sort of the main artery. And let's go back to satellite. A lot of the commerce and development is on I-20. If you're thinking about, Targets and Chick-fil-A's, things like that, those are going to be areas near the interstate where that property is. If you go north into actual Anniston, which is one of the largest cities, probably the largest city in Calhoun County, a lot of residential properties here. This is the old downtown. We've bought here before. There's quite a few houses. And as a side note on this video, if I wanted to go see the over-the-counter properties, I'm just going to clear my filters and come back right in, and frankly, the over-the-counters are right here. I'm going to just click go, and we're going to come right back into downtown Anniston, and you can see the blue tax deed over-the-counter properties are now in the mix with the yellow properties that are auctioned. So you have the auction properties and the over-the-counter properties on the same screen at the same time. And of course, if you wanted to buy one of these over-the-counters, click on the report. We have the instructions and steps to take you through that application process right there. And if you want to buy an auction property, we have the same thing. We have the steps on where to go. This is going to be a GovEase. You can register here, info there, and a list here. So all the information you need to bid in Calhoun County or to purchase an over-the-counter property in one place. This is a good chance to do a little side step here. You can filter by improvements, which is going to be anything that's got a building on it. That cuts the list in half to 5,000. We could do a minimum value of $50,000 if you want to filter there. We could put a minimum acreage of 1 acre. That's going to take it down probably a lot. Yep, down to 1,000. And so, as you can see, we have a lot of filters here: ownership, occupancy, things like that, that will help you take tens of thousands of properties down to just the ones that fit your strategy. So that's a little further in Alabama than I meant to go, but like I said, I can get long-winded. So let's close out in Alabama. If you want to know more about the auction season, we'll publish a video once more of these auctions come online, but you can check out last year's. It's going to look very similar this year. Okay, Maryland. We've tracked Maryland for several years now. It's got a great little season going from basically March through June, typically, where every county except one holds their tax lien auctions, and then in August you have Baltimore County has theirs separate from everybody else because they want to be different. So let's open up this auction calendar, and we're going to go to 2024 because we don't have any placeholders yet this year. So again, you see March through June were those auctions, quite a few in May in particular. And I guess I'm not going to spend too much time on Maryland. They do have some over-the-counter properties in a handful of the counties, but I would want to mention that their interest rates are kind of all over the board. Every county handles it differently, but it can be very generous, up to like 24%, and some of them have very high penalty rates too, which are very appealing. But the redemption period in Maryland is interesting because the counties also handle that a little bit differently. But what's appealing to a lot of investors is many of the counties make it easy for you to begin your foreclosure as early as 6 months after buying the lien. So again, you're going to need to understand the counties individually that you're buying in, but that redemption period can be a very appealing part of the Maryland tax lien market for you. So I told you at the beginning of the video, I was going to call those out. So that's one of the markets where you want to look at early foreclosures. Kentucky, this is our first year tracking Kentucky. Let me get a little help here. It looks like we have an annual interest rate of 12% and a 1-year redemption. This is another market you should pay attention to if you want short redemptions. From my understanding of Kentucky so far, there is a bit of a process once you get a lien, excuse me, to do the foreclosure. Excuse me. But at a solid interest rate of 12% and that 1-year redemption, it's a fast track to owning property through purchase of a tax lien. So if you think about that, if you compare it to a redeemable deed market with a 1-year redemption or 2 or 3-year redemption period, this lien will get you there quicker. So again, Kentucky's new for us. We think the auctions are mostly in April, but we're going to be updating this calendar as we go. Mississippi is next. Mississippi, like Indiana, has 2 seasons. We're talking about the spring tax lien auction season right now. It's in April. It's all on the same day. We did put some placeholders in based on what we've seen in previous years. We think probably at least these 10 counties will have auctions, usually about a dozen or even more. So we might add a few to this list. We know that this is going to be on Monday, April 7th, so you can track that in your calendar. We just don't know how many counties yet. The reason we don't know how many counties is because in the other auction season, I'm going to jump ahead here. In the fall auction season, every county participates, which means, let's go to 2024, and you can see on a single day, there were over 80 auctions. Every county that had anything to sell participated on the same day. The leftovers of those auctions are what go into the spring auctions. So not every county bothers. If they have just a few or no leftovers, they're not going to do anything. They might just hold on to those liens. And in Mississippi, the counties that hold on to liens convert those into deeds eventually and sell them over the counter at the state. They have a wonderful OTC market. You can find it on our site. We have videos on that too on this channel to show you exactly how to buy tax deeds from Mississippi. So check that out. So I covered both the Mississippi seasons there. So let's go to Vermont, another new state for us. What I know about Vermont is we think the auction season is going to be kind of April to June, July area. We know that they're sold using a premium bid format where you bid up over the taxes owed, kind of like a traditional auction format. There's a 12% interest rate and a 3-year redemption period. So not the greatest redemption period there, but Vermont could have some appeal. We're learning that market too, so that's about as far as I'm going to go with it today. Florida, we've tracked as long as I can remember. 18% max interest rate, bid down auction format. Their season is going to be May and June. Now, they happen really fast at the end of May and the beginning of June, I think over just a few days. So the good news is a lot of these auctions are going to be online. And so online auctions, if you've used those in the past, are great for bidding in advance, so you don't have to necessarily be online that day. So let's see. May 16th in 2024 is when the tax lien auctions started. By the way, I'm filtered by tax lien auctions here, so we don't see all the deed and foreclosure auctions. But if you look at this, you basically have just one, two, three, just all in a row, sometimes multiple counties in the same day. And let's do a little exercise here. There were 28 of those auctions in May, 39 of them at the beginning of June, all just a couple days. If we filter this calendar and say online only, let's see if that 28 and 39 actually change one. So we tracked one in-person auction last year, and the rest were um, online. There was a re-offer supplemental sale in August, but it was just a one-off, so we're not going to count that in our calendar necessarily here. So while we're here, I will show you if you do all auction types, there's a load of auctions in Florida every month, about 400 auctions between the foreclosures and the deeds, and then eventually the liens. There's just a lot for sale in Florida at all times. The last footnote I want to put on Florida is that these tax lien auctions, the annual ones, and the tax liens that you buy over the counter, which there's tens of thousands to buy on our website, we take you straight to the doorstep to go purchase those. You can use our site for the research and finding them. But when you buy a lien in Florida, there is no path to ownership of the property. So I've been calling out markets where you can get ownership quicker. Florida is a never. The tax lien does not translate to a deed. What happens is the lien actually goes to another auction and becomes a deed. So if you buy the tax lien, you have it 2 years, you can push it with the county to go to a deed auction, but that's just to recover your money and interest rate. If you want to buy the property, you have to go to the deed auction either online or in person and bid against everybody else. You don't have any special rights as a lien holder. Just throw a little bit of water, cold water on your Florida plans there. Great interest rate, not a path to ownership. Iowa, we tracked for the first time this last year. We had a heavy concentration in June, a little bit in July. I believe it was a reoffer sale, and we're basically secondary sale. And let's go back to 2024. We don't have any placeholders this year, but we did have a reoffer. Polk County had 2 adjourned sales. I think that's what we're talking about here. So Iowa, let's see, we have a 24% 3-year redemption, but it is not quite as quick as or easy as I'm making it sound. So you definitely want to learn about Iowa. We're not going to go into all the details about Iowa here. We have a separate video for that. And as we're tracking the auction season this year, you'll see auctions start to pop up on the calendar. The next 3 states are actually new to us. Montana, we're looking at auction with 3-year redemption period, 10% annual interest rate. So not the best redemption, not the best interest rate. Vacant land does have a shorter redemption period at 2 years. This is kind of a mediocre market if you compare it to others. I don't personally have experience there. We're brand new to it. If we find something appealing about Montana besides the beautiful land, we'll be sure to bring it up in our videos. But if you want to bid in those auctions, they are June, July, and August. And again, if you are trying to own a property, it could be a slower path in Montana than other states. DC, not a state, but we'll call it one anyways. They actually do a decent amount of volume in their tax sales, surprisingly. And they are investor-friendly rules with a premium bid format, an 18% annual interest rate, and just a 6-month redemption. We're brand new to this market, so there could be more details we bring forth later as we learn them. But that sounds on the surface like a very investor-friendly market. The 6-month redemption period in particular beats some of the redeemable deed states. It looks like June and July are the auction seasons, and we're pulling OTCs very soon, so we'll have over-the-counter opportunities in DC. Wyoming, the 3rd new state in a row here that we have not tracked before until 2025. We're looking at a 4-year redemption rate with a max interest rate of 15%. That's all we know so far in Wyoming. We know the season is looking like July, late summer, into fall rather. As we're learning more about Wyoming, I'll make sure and put some more helper text here, and you'll see the calendar start to light up with some auctions, but that's going to be later on in the year. Indiana, we already talked about the commissioner sales. Let's contrast it with the fall treasurer sales. Those are going to have a 12-month redemption, and the good news is you're actually going to have a lot more auctions to choose from. If we look at 2024, and this is another state where I want to filter by tax auctions because of the foreclosures. There's just so many foreclosures. So we're looking at the 2024. You can see the spring season ran through about April. The fall treasurer sales started in August. St. Joseph's tax sale on August 21st. But there were so many counties participating because it's the first chance for these to sell. So these are the first chance to buy these tax properties. Again, a 12-month redemption, but high volume of properties, high volume of auctions too. About 90 auctions in just 2 months covering all that. Don't forget there are the occasional deed sales. And so if you see a deed sale on here, it's not uncommon. It's just not as there are not as many as there are tax lien sales. And again, if you wanted to learn about some of these auctions that took place last year, you can always click on the auction and see when and where it took place and the links to the county site. And remember, you can still go list out the properties from these auctions, even though they've already passed, if you want to go back and look at history. So that's a second pass at Indiana to cover their fall sales. Mississippi, we already covered their fall sales. It just made sense to cover that at the top of the video. Let me throw in one uh, note about Mississippi is all of their auctions are online. I don't think I mentioned that. So they're all on govies.com. That's very helpful. Missouri, brand new to us. We just started it last year. It looks like most of the auctions are in August. And they do have a unique system of first, second, third, and then fourth sale. Some people call it post third sale, but fourth sales. And you basically start off as a tax lien with the 1-year redemption, but as it progresses, the first and second auctions have a 1-year redemption. The third and beyond have just 90-day redemption. So this is one of those markets. If you look at the third and fourth sale options that are the offerings, those are going to have that 90-day redemption. So pay attention to Missouri. Not all of them are going to have a short redemption, but some of them do. South Carolina, we just wrapped the season in December last month. Fantastic market, though. It has a 1-year redemption, a premium bid format, 12% penalty interest that accrues at 3% chunks every 3 months, which means I've had this in a video captured much more eloquently than I'm going to put it here. But basically, from day 1 through day 90, you earn 3%. From day 91 for the next 90 days, you earn 6%. So every 3 months, you get a 3% accrual that happens at the front end on that first day. Again, there's another video I have that explains that much better. But let's take a look at the South Carolina season. We're looking at 2024 as reference here. And we're going to go ahead and do tax auctions only because there are foreclosures on the calendar. And let's just look at December only. There were some big auctions there. We'll take the last one of the year. Greenville had about 1,000 properties at auction. So if we wanted to sort what was the most valuable property, for instance, let's see. There was a $12 million property right up top. We can see that one. Looks like a large commercial property there on 8 acres. So this is not available now, so we can't see how to buy it. But when the auctions start to pop up for that season, which remember, the South Carolina season is later in the year, September through December, you will see those live. These auctions can be big, thousands of properties per county. And sometimes a few counties will start as early as August, but we're going to track September and say that for now because that's what they did last year. Colorado is sort of a sister season to South Carolina. They happen almost at the same time. It hits its crescendo, really November, hits just that fever pitch where a lot of the auctions happen. And I didn't list an interest rate here because Colorado has a variable interest rate depending on the federal prime rate every year. So we have to actually every year look up what the interest rate is going to be and publish it. We do have videos on Colorado to help with that, so keep an eye out for those. The 2024 season, tax auctions only because there are foreclosure auctions. It looks like November hit really just a lot of those auctions all at once. And we'll just see, this one was 2,000 property auction for Arapahoe County. Very large auction. And again, we could actually sort these and see what the most valuable property was. It sold $21 million. That's a very expensive or very valuable property that sold. Colorado does have a 3-year redemption. And one other note about Colorado is they are introducing tax deed auctions in a higher volume than before. The way we understand it right now from the counties and what they've told us is that the tax deeds previously, like when a lien would hit the redemption period and become a tax deed, they're going to treat it more like Florida now and have a secondary deed auction. So there'll be more to come on that, but it could really change your investment strategy in Colorado. You might want to focus on interest rate for liens, and then for owning a property, really focus on those deed auctions instead, because it looks like there's not a clear path to ownership on tax lien auctions anymore. West Virginia, the last new market we have on the screen, we've never tracked it, But we've already scouted it out for the year. We think the sales are going to be October, November for tax liens there. We think they're over the counters. We're still working on that. But we've seen that they use a premium bid format, a 12% annual interest rate, and an 18-month redemption period. So it's kind of right down the middle. A decent interest rate, not the best, not the worst. An 18-month redemption period is actually pretty good. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest. So West Virginia is right in the middle. And from what we've seen, there were some big changes to the laws in the recent years on how they handle the lien auction. So it's a bit confusing, but I think they're getting it squared away. It looks like they have a good website for it coming up. And so I'm excited about West Virginia this year to go through that. It's definitely going to be a learning experience for us. Illinois, we started tracking recently, and a lot of what we're tracking in Illinois are deed auctions, but we have lien auctions as well. And they have a bid down interest rate format with 18% max. And I can already tell you, we don't have any lien auctions on the calendar right now. I think we only have deed. Yeah, we have 3 deed auctions, no lien auctions yet. So right now the calendar shows lien and deed is year round because this is our first year tracking and we don't really know what to expect. So this is a state where you can expect heavy updates to this auction calendar on both deeds and liens as we learn more about Illinois. Nevada, similar situation we've covered in the past, but the deed auctions have been easier to find. These lien auctions can be elusive, and we're going to work on getting that coverage up this year to cover more of Nevada. These liens are sold with a 12% annual interest rate and a 2-year redemption period. So um, we're just about West Virginia, 12%, 18 months. So it sounds like it's a little better than Nevada. So Nevada's, you know, decent, not the best, not the worst. New Jersey is a crazy busy tax lien market. What I mean by that is this. If you've seen our news videos before, you'll see I put graphs and charts just to kind of show, but the auctions happen all year. They're held at the municipal township level instead of the county, so there's more of them. Some of them even go more than once a year. But all year long, we have a trickle of auctions, up to 11 in June last year, 14 September. And then in the fall, we just get pounded with about 80 auctions in October, 30 in November, and then 93 in December. It was just auction after auction, sometimes many auctions in a single day, as you can see. I mean, 6, 7 auctions a day. And these are mostly held online, which is very nice. If you want to compete in these and you don't want to go to New Jersey, you should compete in the online auctions, obviously. And you can pre-bid on these tax liens, so that's another benefit. And so it's a nice solid market year round with heavy volume late in the year for you to look at. We do have a video that covers New Jersey, all the rules of the auction and what you need to know. So go check that video out. And our last state is Ohio. We've covered Ohio for a long time in the tax deeds. We're new to the tax liens. And we've seen not every county has tax liens for sale. They have to hit some kind of volume minimum quota to qualify. And some of the ones that do seem to sell like in a bulk sales only mode. I don't know the exact number, but you may need to show up with millions of dollars at this scale uh, in some of these auctions to be able to compete. So Ohio tax liens are they're not as well known. They're just not as well understood, I guess, in the tax investing community as the tax deeds because I think it only appeals to investors with large funding. So this is the year we're gonna learn a lot about it this year, and what we'll do is as we're learning it, we'll keep updating this. In the meantime, I'll just show you Ohio's auction calendar. The deed auctions, on the other hand, you're looking at over 100 a month, 117 in December, 118 happening in January. You can see most of these are upcoming. The pretty small auctions, 1, 2, 3, 4 parcels, 10 in that one. And we do have a pretty good lead time on these. We have auctions going all the way out into May and April. So, not to spend too much time talking about deeds in my lien video, but Ohio's tax deeds could be a great way for you to invest, regardless of your funding levels. They do mix them in with tax foreclosures and with regular foreclosures. So you will see a lot of these Ohio sheriff sales are going to have some properties there because of taxes, some properties there because of normal foreclosure. So that was a lot. Again, this calendar is for you to explore, to just look at the seasons as they're changing. We're going to be updating it throughout the year. We've added our little helper text for you everywhere to try. We're still populating some of these just to put enough information. But anytime you see these little question marks, it's a great little primer to help you remember what's going on in this type of tax lien auction or tax deed auction. And I think that's pretty much covers it. I really, again, appreciate you watching this. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope we've unlocked some markets for you where maybe you overlooked in the past because you didn't know that the tax lien redemption was so fast. And so, yeah, that's really everything I wanted to cover here. Uh, Give us some feedback. We've been putting these placeholder auctions on the calendar. If you like that, let us know. If it's confusing and you don't like placeholders that might move, then tell us that too. We'll take that feedback in stride. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube. It lets us know that you want more of this content. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, that's a great way for you to keep track of our newest videos. You'll get notified by YouTube themselves about uh, videos as they are released. And like last year, we're gonna try to put out like about 50 videos or so. Try to get about one a week, and sometimes more than one a week. Focus on some markets, give you some news videos, and whenever you have ideas for something you'd like to see, just let us know. So thanks again for watching, and stay warm out there and have a great day.